Then so sometimes clients require that, I mean, they want their past data into dynamics. They don't want to create year by year like this. So from here, from the new year, they want to create it year by year. But for the past data, for the past 10 years, they want all the past 10 years data to be put into a single fiscal year like that. So in that case, what they will do is they'll start the fiscal year from 2011 January 1st, suppose 2011, and they will end it by December 31st, 2020. So they will add 10 years within it. In a single fiscal year period, they will add 10 years, and they'll give length of period as 1 and this one as years, and they'll create this now. So what happens now? Any idea what happens now if we create it like this? How many operating periods we have?
We'll have 10
Yeah,
operating.
we will have
10.
10 operating periods, each for 1 year. So I'll just create and show you as an example. It's a very complicated scenario, but most of them will do that. If they want some past 10 years or 5 years data, they will do they'll give dates like this: start date from 2011 and end date from 31st December 2020. So all the past years will be brought into a single year. What is the use when you bring it like this? Is there any use when we bring it like this? Yes, there is an use. Uh, there is no need to run fiscal year closure for all the years one by one. You can run all the, so you can bring all the balances here in this for this 10 years at a time here, and you can run the fiscal year closure such that the ending balance whatever is there will be transferred to the next year 2021. Suppose if I create individual years, like, I'm sorry, it should not be 21, it should be 11 to 20. The name should be, I missed it anyway. In case if I create one by one year, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15 separately until 2020, I have to run the year-end closure process for each year. First, I have to bring balance into 2011. Then I have to run the year-end process for 11. Then balances will be carried forward to 2012. Then I have to insert the balances of 2012. Then again, I have to run the year-end closure for 2012. So I have to keep on doing it until 2020. And at the end of 2020, once I do that, the balances will be carried forward to 2021. So that is a procedure. But to avoid 10 times year-end closure process, they will usually, since it is past data only, right? You will bring rough data only. You don't bring each and every transaction. You just bring the account balance. So for that purpose, they will create calendar like this, an yearly calendar. I mean, calendar for 10 years at a time, so that they can post whatever transaction they want for that period and just run the year-end closure for a single time. So that's one method that they follow, and you can suggest this kind of methods if client requirement is as so in an implementation project. Just keep this in mind. There is a possibility of doing so. So I want to explain you this scenario. Okay. So this is one way. If you are clear with this scenario, I'll go for another 1 or 2 business scenarios, which will be really useful for you, for your knowledge sake. Understood this? Anything else that you have in mind, or any other business scenario you have in this situation?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you. Then I have one more thing to explain for you. Okay. I'll just delete it this year. I'll add one more year. Don't worry. So I'm just normally adding this 2021 for January 1st to 31st December 2021, and I'm just giving it as fiscal year 2021. Okay, and then I'm creating 1 month and creating here. So 1 year is created here. What happens is this time my company is merging with another company. Okay. So this company, suppose it's a US legal entity, it is now merging with an Indian legal entity. So Indian legal entity is the main company now. So once after the merger, this company also should follow the Indian company calendar format, which starts from April 1st and ends with March 31st. So in between the business process, how can we change the calendar year? Is there a possibility? So how we overcome such kind of situations? So as I'm explaining you, mine is a US based company. The calendar starts from 1st January and ends with, sorry, I'll change it, 31st December. So it starts with 1st January and ends with 31st December. So it is merging with any other Indian company which have a different calendar. So for India, the calendar will be like April 1st to 31st March. So in this kind, anybody know normal? Exactly, that's what they will do in normal business practice. So US calendar will start from 1st of January to 31st of December, right? Suppose in somewhere in the end here, if it merges with the Indian legal entity, starting from, I mean, again the calendar should start from January 1st, right? So January 1st to March 31st, they will create as a fiscal period. So these 3 months they will create as a fiscal period. Once after completing this one, and they will follow the regular Indian pattern calendar, April 1st to 31st of March again. For that particular 3 months, they will create a calendar year, or else they can create one calendar year for complete 15 months at a time. That can also be possible in Dynamics. I'll show you 2 examples now. How can we do that? Then, so as I was saying you, if in case of such kind of mergers, to manage those 3 months additional that they have in between, so they have to follow April 1st from next year. But in between, after completion of this December, they have these 3 additional months. So how they will manage these 3 additional months, that I'll show you here in the calendar. So I am creating a new year here, as you can see. I'm just giving this as FY additional. Okay. But as you can see here, it is directly taking the start date and end date. Directly taking the start date as next year's January 1st and end date as 31st of December next year. But in our situation, we want the end date should be March 31st, such that from April 1st we will create new fiscal year and we will follow the same pattern normally for all the years from there on. So in order to change this year or the end date here in the fiscal year, just remove this option here, copy from last fiscal year option. If you remove this option, this date will be editable. Then you can change it back to March 31st if you want here. And months normally, if for 3 months, it will create a fiscal year, usual fiscal year. So I'll say it as fiscal year additional. So I don't think it will fit. I mean, all characters will not fit. Just keep it as fiscal year additional. Okay. I'll create here. So I can see here 3 operating periods are created, one for each month for the 3 months. And I have one opening and one closing. Okay. Now from here onwards, I'll create a new year. See what it will show is, it will show 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2023. So this is what we want, right? Indian pattern from 2020 to 2022, April 1st to 2023, March 31st. So this is how we want. So we will create it as fiscal year 2023. Sorry, fiscal year 2020 to 23, what we call in Indian terms normally. So copy from last fiscal year. Yeah, it will copy the months pattern, or else you can change the pattern if you want. So usually they'll follow months only, right? So I'll create months itself. Now see, the next year is created in following this pattern. And if I create one more year now and click on just create, and just I'll give this name here, fiscal year, sorry, one second, year 2024 25, or sorry, 23 24, right? 23 24, create. So now easily we changed the fiscal year that is followed from January 1st, December 31st to April 1st to March 31st, according to the new conditions of the company or new requirement of the business. So in between the 3 months period, we have adjusted it into another, I mean, adjusted as a normal fiscal year, and that after these 3 months, they will close the business or they will run the fiscal year closure once again and continue working on fresh business from 1st of April as according to the Indian calendar pattern. So when these kind of situations arise in your business, this is the solution that you can follow. Got it? Any doubt? Anybody understood the logic? You can give as many months as you want, or as many years as you want in a fiscal year here in this Dynamics. Suppose if this example, I'll just delete these years one by one to demonstrate another way. Here I deleted this, and thus this one also I deleted. So this 3 months period also I'm deleting. Okay. So here, normally in the previous example, I have created 3 months, and then from next year, the merger rules are being followed. I mean, the Indian calendar pattern is being followed, but they want it from the next by next year. Okay, not from the very next year. They want it from the later year. So in that case, we will have to create the fiscal calendar to cover up 15 months, not 3 months. So I'll show you how we can do that. So I just click on new year here. So here you can see the end of fiscal year. I'll just close this parameter, set this to no, and I can change the date here. So as I can say that, and from March until March 31st, 2023. So starting from January 1st, 2022 to March 31st March 2023, we can create 15 months. We can create as a calendar year. So next from 2023, what happens if I click on new year? I see it creates from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. So we have adjusted that 15 months in this particular calendar year that we have created here. Previously, we have done for 3 months, right? So in the same way, you can also do for 15 months such that the merger rules will be applicable from the later year rather than from the very next fiscal year. It will be applicable from the later fiscal year, which is here. This is another scenario. Then let's leave this calendar and go back to our previous calendar, which is MRF. Okay, just change the calendar. We only have one fiscal year in that calendar and we have it here. Now let us discuss few options here within this. We have something called as divide period, create closing period, delete period options. So how this works and all we can see now. Okay. So here I have one option called as divide period. So what happens with this divide period? If I want to divide this 1 month period again into two periods, I can use that divide period option. See here, period 1 I have starting from 1st of January to 31st of January. Period 2 I have starting from 1st of February to 28th of February. If in between I want to divide this period for 15 days, so for 1st of January to 15th of January, I want one period, and from 15th of January to 16th of January to 31st of January, I want it as another period, another operating period. That is my requirement, or if somebody asks you if it is possible or not, it is possible. So how to do that, I'll show you now. Here you have this option, divide period. You select the period which you want to divide and click on divide period here. If I click on divide period, it asks me if at all you are dividing this period, what will be the next date of the, starting date of the next period. So I want to divide it from 1st of January to 15th of January. So what will be the starting date of the next period? Anybody?
16th.
So 16th of January will be the next start date of the next period. So I have to give it here. Period start, next period start. So it will be 16th January, right? So I gave 16th January. Just give the name for that period. I'll just give it as period 1.5. Just for an example, okay? You can change this period names also if you want to, as per your month also you can keep, but I'll tell you how it works. Click on divide here. See, it divides. You can see first period now we have 1st of January to 15th of January, and period 1.5 we have created new one, right? So it is starting from 16th of January to 31st of January, like this. If you want to break this one once again, starting from 21st of from 16 to 20 you want one period, from 21 to 31st you have one period. You can again divide it like this, and you can give the date here from 21st to 31st. I want another period, and I'll call it as period 1.6 maybe. Okay, I'll just divide it, period 1.6. So you can see from 16th to 20 I have one period, from 21 to 31st of January I have another period again here. So this divide period option will work in that way. So I'll tell you why it is normally used in business. There is a calendar pattern called as 445 calendar, or 544 or 454 calendar. So in that type of calendars, usually this divide period option will be helpful. Else you can also normally create any calendar like this and divide it according to as many however you want. So for each 14 days, if you want to divide, you can divide by 14 days calendar. Every time you can divide the calendar starting, I mean, for 14 days if you want. Usually you can apply the 14 units and unit length as 14 and units as days, and you can apply that also if you want. But this one is usually the other way to divide a period, already created period. Okay. Now I don't want this period 1.6. I want to delete this period. Then I can see the option here, delete period. Okay. I'll click here, delete period. If I delete it, what happens is that 10 days period is that 10 days are again adjusted to the previous period. See here, the 10 days are being adjusted to this period number 1.5 again. So it is starting from 16th of January to 31st of January once again. So if I delete this period also, here the same data again will be inserted into this date period one only, 1st of January to 31st of January. So again I can divide it, again I can delete it however I want. Okay, but
so only the periods which are divided, those periods only we can delete now.
no, you can't delete this period one, but you can delete period two. Okay, because first date starting, right, you can't delete it. If you delete it, it can't adjust in any other period. But if you delete this one period two here, it will adjust it into period one only. So period one will be from 1st of January to 28th of February. Okay, I'll show you how. So if I delete this period two, it will adjust those missing dates or those days into this period. Now you see this one is from 1st of January to 28th of February. So which usually we don't want. I'll again divide this period. See here, I'll start it from, I mean, the start date should be from February 1st, right? So February 1st to, I'll create a new period. Just give it as period 2 once again and divide it and see it here. Got it? So
Yeah,
this is how we use these two options, divide period and delete period. So there is one more option called as create closing period. Usually we have one opening period, 12 operating periods and one closing period, right? You can create as many closing periods as you want if you want to create. Suppose at the end of this first quarter, at the end of 31st March, I want to create a closing period. I can just click on create closing period here. So it's giving as period 3 closing 0. Normally it gives this default name. You can change the name if you want and click on create. See here, for 31st of March till 31st of March only, it have created a closing period. Usually these closing periods in between are created to adjust any balances or to transfer some balances at the end of quarter from one main account to other main account, or internal transfer of balances from cash to bank, from bank to cash, anything else. If you want to move internal movements, you can do that adjustments using this closing period or within this closing period. And it is also not necessary. You can normally do the closing adjustments also, I mean changes from one period to other period. It's not compulsory that you have to create closing period like this, but sometimes client may require such closing periods in between the months, so you can create here like this. If you don't want, you can normally delete it once again. It doesn't affect anything. Mostly they don't create here in between, but they will create closing periods at the end. We have one closing period, right? They will create some additional closing periods at the end. This one closing period is there. Along with that, they'll create one or two closing periods and they will use them for a purpose, for transfer of closing balance. I'll show you that process during the year-end closure process, why they will create closing periods and use them. We will see that part again. Okay. But there is an option called create closing periods in between also. Remember that as well. So these are the three options we have on here. Now, if you got some clarity about this, how these three works, anybody have any other doubts in this?
No, Jay.
Okay. So I'll just walk you through this basic look how it is here. So normally you see period 1 is an operating period. It starts from 1st of January to 31st of, until 31st of January. You can see type is operating, start date is this, end date is this, and then you have one short name. If you want to give any short name, you can give any short name, just like Jan is a short name. If you want to give, you can give. Then it falls into first month, right? So it will show as first month. If you create a yearly operating period, it will normally show 1 and quarter because you don't have any other option. It can't show all the 4 all the 12 months as well as 4 quarters in one line, right? So it usually shows like that. Don't bother about that. But if we create it on a monthly basis, it will show like this. So it will fall into first month. So it will show like this. So it should fall into second month, right? Since we have deleted and created it changed here. Normally it should not look like this. I'll delete and create this here once again to show you once again. Okay, just year starting January 1st. Okay, 2021. I'll just give it as fiscal year 2021 and create, and see here this one first period. So you can see is in month 1. So month 2 February, month 3 March, like that. So 3 of these will fall into first quarter, right? So January, February and March will fall into first quarter. So it is showing up first quarter here. The next 3 will fall into second quarter. In the same way, there will be 4 quarters for every 3 months. There will be a quarter. So 4 quarters for 12 months. If you want to add any additional comments for your period, you can add it here, comments. These are all not mandatory, just optional fields. If you have to add any comments such that whoever comes into this calendar to check this calendar, they can see these comments that were added by you, or you can keep some comments as a reminder for you, for your sake. Whenever we open this calendar, you will find that comments and keep that in mind, not to do something or to do something. So that kind of reminders you can keep here. So that's how the construction is here. So now, any doubts in this part?
Jay, as you said, these calendars are is a global page. Can we link the calendars which are available here to the other legal entities as well?
Definitely, you can link a single calendar to multiple legal entities. Okay. And if you open this page, calendars page from any legal entity, you can see all the calendars like this. You can make any changes or access any calendar and make changes in those calendars. Okay. So what does it mean by global? One second.
Okay.
What does it mean by global page? Means if you access from any legal entity, it will open the same page and all of them can be edited. So no idea what is 445. 445 or 544 or 454. Anything will be the same. Usually 445 will be the main. So what is 445 means? Generally, retail companies, a lot of companies in retail sector will use this 445 pattern. 445 here indicates 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks and 5 weeks. So 4 weeks means 28 days plus 28 days plus 35 days. So this is usually also called as a week pattern calendar, or this 445 calendar, usually maintained in retail companies because they have weekly payments and weekly settlements with their retail customers. So they will construct a 445 calendar. So we will see how we can construct a 445 calendar. If you want more information about why is a 445 calendar and why business requires 445 calendar, you can Google it usually with 445 and you can find more theoretical part. In interviews, they will definitely ask you, do you know how to configure a 445 calendar? So in that case, you should not be blank. You have to understand how we can construct a 445 calendar. I'll explain you how the pattern look like and how we can configure in Dynamics. Okay. Usually 445 means, as I told, 4 weeks, 4 weeks and 5 weeks. So normally in monthly calendar, how we have 30 days and 30 days, or like 90 days usually, or 90, 91 or 92 sometimes in a quarter. In a quarter, you have 3 months. Combining 3 months days, you will have 90 days or more than 90 days, or sometimes less than 90 days. So here, if I combine all these days, how many I will get? 28 plus 28 will be 52. Sorry, 56. 56
91.
plus 35, I'll get 91. More or less like a quarter days, right?
Yes.
So, but in retail sector, they will divide this periods, operating periods, we have seen operating periods previously, right? So they will divide them on the basis of 28 days, 28 days, and 35 days in first quarter. Later they will divide them as again 28 plus 25 plus again the same. Here again the same for second quarter. So in that way we will have 4 quarters, right? So 91 into 4. How many days?
364.
364. There will be 1 day remaining. That 1 day they will adjust it into last period or first period anyhow, however they want. So in the last period they will have 36 days if they want, not 35. So just to adjust that 1 day, or in the first period they'll keep 29 days to adjust that 1 day. So that's how it usually looks like 445 calendar. So but how we can construct a 445 calendar? If at all I want to create an operating period from 1st January to 28 days, when it will start and when it will end, if at all I want to start it from 1st of January 2021. So let me know what will be the 28 days period. This is the starting period. What will be the ending period for 28 days?
28th Jan.
28th January.
28 January will be the ending. Okay, next will be another 28 days again. So this will be one operating period. I'll call it as operating period 1. Sorry, operating 1. So next period will start from 29th
29th Jan to 25th Feb.
29th of January. So 28 days from 29th of January. So how many?
25th
What?
Feb.
25th February. Okay. So 25. Sorry, 25 February will be the date. So it is operating 2. Next, what will be the next starting date?
26th to 1st April.
26 February will be the starting date. Okay. So then 35 days now, not 28 days, 35 days.
Yeah, 1st April.
So 1st April will be the end date for that 35 days period. And call it as operating 3. In the same way, again you will start it from 2nd April. So 28 days again. So which will be 29th of April will be the closing period, and it will be operating period number 4. In the same way, you will have 12 operating periods usually. So here it covers 91 days, right? In the same way, it covers 91, 91, and 91. And at the end, if you have an additional day, you can add it as a 36 days period. One last period, you can add it as 36 days. So this is how usually a 445 looks like. So the commencement of business starts from 1st of January. So they will have weekly reports and weekly patterns. They will maintain weekly collections as well, weekly cash flows as well. So in that case, they will maintain this 4 weeks, 4 weeks, and 5 weeks calendars usually. This is feasible and recognized around the world or followed around the world in retail sector mostly. So if at all I want to construct such calendar or configure this kind of periods in a fiscal year, how can I do that is the question. So do anybody got any idea how can we do that? What are the options that are available to do such things? Until now we have seen few options, right? Any idea? Now I'll show you how we can divide the period. I'm deleting this one. Okay, I'm deleting this here. I'll create one again once again just to demonstrate 445. Don't worry. So here I'll click on new year, which starts from 1st of January 2021 end with 31st December 2021 only, and I'll give this name as fiscal year 2021 only. And here, to make it very easy, to make the division of periods easy, I'll select it as years. Okay, 1 year period, and I'll create this calendar. If I create, I have only one operating period now. As you see, period 1 is the operating period starting from 1st of January to 31st of December. Now I'll start dividing this operating period on the basis of the periods that I have divided here. So what is the first period start date? 1st January to 28th January, which means the second period start date is 29 January, right? So I'll divide this period. I have to give what I have to give here.
29 Jan.
That would
Jan.
the starting date of next period I have to give here, which is 29th of January. And the period name, and I can give the period name as I want. So I'll just give it as P2. Okay, I'll change it later if you want. So I'll click on divide. So I have P1 here, period 1, which is starting from 1st of January to 20th of January. So 29th of January, I have P2 starting. And what should be the end of that period? 25th of February should be the end, right? So which means 26 should be the next period starting date. So I'll again click here on this one, P2, divide this period. Give the date as 25th of February, right? So 25th of February until 25th of February, I'll give it as P3 divide. So 28 days here, 28 days here. Now again, I'll divide this for 35 days. So 35 days ending period is 1st April, starting period of next period is 2nd April, right? So I'll click here, click on divide, give it as 2nd April will be the start date, and I'll call it as P4 and divide this. So now we can see this one 28, 28 and 35. In the same way, we'll keep on dividing this according to the dates we have already. We have to prepare all these dates already in an Excel file or a Word document like this, and according to the dates that we have decided here, we can divide this period, one single operating period, into multiple periods, multiple operating periods, as you can see here. So in the same manner, we'll divide it until 31st of December. So at the end, you might have 36 days. So you can add that 36th day also, I mean 365 days, right? So that, or 366 days sometimes. So you can add that 1 or 2 days into that final period, 35 days period. Usually happens like that. Understood, everyone, how we can create a 445. This is the process how we can create 445. Keep it in mind. In interviews, they will definitely ask you what is a 445 calendar. You can say they will also ask you how you can configure 445. You can say this is the process how you can configure 445. Looks easy. Well, I demonstrate, or looks logical enough, but if you don't practice, you'll forget in the second day itself. Definitely. So keep that in mind. We have seen a lot of business scenarios for now. So we have seen I hope you can follow the video once again to see the scenarios, but you have to practice it rigorously or thoroughly so that you will get hands-on or good idea about how the calendars function in Dynamics.